All right, let's dive into The Millionaire Next Door, this classic book by Thomas J. Stanley and William Danko. We're going to unpack some of the secrets about building wealth straight from the source. Get ready to have your assumptions challenged.
You know, a lot of folks might be surprised at what the book says about the typical millionaire.
Yeah.
Forget those flashy TV shows,
Yeah.
mansions and sports cars. The Millionaire Next Door is about those quiet accumulators.
Yeah.
The ones who kind of blend in and just steadily build their wealth over time.
It throws you a curveball right from the start, like that story with the Decamillionaires
Oh, yeah.
who turn their noses up at the fancy food and drinks, right?
Right.
Preferred just Budweiser and Scotch instead.
Yeah.
These are people worth tens of millions.
I know.
You'd think they'd be all about the fancy stuff.
It really makes you question your assumptions, doesn't it?
It does.
And the book's full of examples like that, things that just shatter that myth of millionaires being big spenders.
Yeah.
Like that stat that 50% of the millionaires they surveyed paid less than $399 for their most expensive suit.
What?
Some even got theirs from JCPenney.
JCPenney. You're kidding.
No? I mean, it really makes you think.
So no designer suits needed to build a killer portfolio, huh?
Nope. It's a real wake-up call. It's not about appearances. It's about those choices you make with your money.
Right.
Like, they contrast that. Remember Mr. King?
Mm-hmm.
He was all about that high-income lifestyle, but wasn't actually wealthy.
Yeah.
Smoke and mirrors, really.
So if it's not about looking rich, what sets these millionaires apart? What's the secret sauce?
Well, they introduced this idea of PAWs versus UAWs. Prodigious accumulators of wealth versus under-accumulators of wealth.
Mm.
And these PAWs, they might not have the highest salaries, but they're planners, like meticulous budgeters, tracking their spending, and they're consistently putting away a good chunk of their income.
So it's not just about how much you make. It's about what you do with it. You're not just letting it all slip away.
And some of them, they actually take it a step further. They create what they call an economic environment of scarcity. Basically, they prioritize investing first.
So before they even think about spending.
Right. It's almost like they're intentionally limiting their spending money.
Interesting. So they're not expanding their lifestyle to match their income.
No.
They're investing first and living off what's left.
Exactly. It's pretty counterintuitive.
Like, most people probably do the opposite.
Yeah, I think so. But it shows a different mindset, this willingness to, delay gratification.
Yeah.
That long-term vision.
It makes you wonder if these super wealthy people are hiring CPAs to help them budget, maybe we should all be taking a harder look at our own habits.
I think so, yeah. It's that idea of being proactive, right?
Yeah.
Having that plan in place, really makes a difference.
Yeah, the book uses those contrasting case studies, Dr. South and Dr. North, both successful physicians, but with totally different approaches to money. What really struck you about their stories?
Dr. South, he's our UAW.
Right.
And he's obsessed with getting the absolute best deal on everything. Like, he'll spend months researching and negotiating car purchases. He goes through this crazy 9-step process.
9 steps. That's commitment.
Right. He's trying to squeeze every penny.
But is he really saving that much in the end,
That's the thing. He's focused on the wrong things. He's penny wise and pound foolish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Missing the bigger picture.
Yeah. And then you have Dr. North, the PAW, who just buys used cars.
Yep. Hasn't bought a new car in 6 years.
Wow.
No fuss.
No drama.
He knows a car is a depreciating asset.
So he'd rather put that money in investments that are going to grow.
Exactly.
It's like they're playing entirely different financial games, right? One's playing the short game, nickel and diming every transaction. The other's playing the long game, making choices for the bigger picture.
And it shows in other areas of their lives, too. Dr. South, always stressed about money. Dr. North, relaxed, secure.
Which brings us to that other big...
Oh, yeah.
Did that resonate with you at all?
Absolutely. This is huge, especially for parents and grandparents.
Yeah.
Understanding how those financial handouts, even with the best intentions, can actually hurt our kids' independence.
It's crazy, right? The book says those kids, those adult children who get regular cash gifts, they actually have less wealth.
81% of the wealth and 91% of the income of those who don't get those gifts.
You'd think it'd be the opposite.
It really throws you, right?
It does. So shouldn't those gifts be helping them get ahead?
Well, it's about the psychology, right?
Oh.
If you're always bailing them out, they never learn to manage on their own.
And then we see that play out with Mary and Lamar. On the surface, they seem successful, but underneath, they're constantly relying on Mary's mom for all these lifestyle upgrades.
And what's interesting, they went to the same school as this successful sales executive, built his wealth from scratch, never had those handouts.
Had to learn financial responsibility early on.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes tough love is the best kind of love, isn't it?
Sometimes, yeah. It's about giving them the tools, not the handouts.
Well, that's a question we're going to dig into more in the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
So we were talking about those financial handouts, how they don't always help in the long run.
Yeah, that's where this whole idea of financial independence comes in.
Okay.
It's not about giving our kids a free pass. It's about giving them the skills,
Yeah.
to make good decisions, financial decisions.
So how do we actually do that? I mean, where do you even start?
Well, the book talks about being open with our kids, talking about money,
Okay.
not like burdening them with it,
Yeah.
but just demystifying it,
Yeah.
making it normal.
Instead of this big scary thing.
Yeah. So they can understand budgeting, saving, investing
Right.
from a young age.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. So we should be talking about this stuff early on.
Definitely. And remember those PAWs we talked about?
Uh-huh.
A lot of them, they instilled these values in their kids early on,
Okay.
encouraging them to get jobs, save their money,
Oh, so like part-time jobs.
Yeah, part-time jobs, saving their earnings, understanding hard work.
So it's not just about us lecturing them about money, it's about us showing them, right?
Exactly. Our actions speak louder than words,
Yeah.
If they see us splurging all the time,
Right.
they'll pick up on that.
Yeah. But if they see us making smart choices, being mindful of our spending, that's got to have a bigger impact.
For sure. And the book tells this story about this father who's really determined to help his son get into an Ivy League school.
Okay.
But instead of just paying for tutors and stuff,
Yeah.
he focused on helping his son with his vocabulary. That was his weakness, and he just drilled him, on new words till it became a strength.
So real support, it's not always about money, right?
No, it's about giving them the tools to succeed.
Yeah. It's like giving them the tools to overcome those challenges themselves.
Exactly.
So when it comes to giving gifts, like financial gifts, how do we make sure we're not creating that sense of entitlement?
Well, the book suggests focusing on gifts that are kind of empowering,
Okay.
like contributing to their education fund or helping with a down payment on a house.
So it's an investment in their future,
Right.
not just a handout.
And it's also important to avoid creating that expectation,
Oh, like these gifts will just keep coming.
Exactly. It's about, supporting them as they become self-sufficient,
No.
not making them rely on us.
But even with the best intentions, sometimes, things can backfire.
Yeah.
The book talks about how giving unequal gifts can cause problems between siblings.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Even if you try to be fair, what feels helpful to one child might not feel fair to another.
Right.
It's about being sensitive to their individual situations.
So it sounds like communication is key here, being open with our kids.
Yeah, definitely. It goes a long way.
Now, in the last part, we touched on how those millionaires can be pretty frugal, even with big purchases.
Right, like with cars.
You mean they're not all driving around in those fancy sports cars?
You'd be surprised. A lot of them actually prefer buying used cars.
Used cars, really? But they're millionaires. Wouldn't they want the newest model?
It's about that mindset. They've built their wealth through saving, through investing. They understand depreciation. They don't want to waste money on a brand new car.
It makes you wonder, what other counterintuitive stuff are they doing, right?
Well, the book breaks down those millionaire car buyers into 4 categories. You got your new vehicle-prone dealer loyalists who buy new but stick with the same dealer. Then there's your new vehicle-prone shoppers who buy new but shop around for the best deal.
Okay.
And then you have your used vehicle-prone dealer loyalists. They prefer used cars but still like to go to the same dealer.
Gotcha.
And finally, the used vehicle-prone shoppers, the ultimate bargain hunters. They'll go anywhere for the best deal.
So there's a spectrum even among millionaires. Some are loyal, some are all about the bargain, but they're all making conscious choices.
Exactly.
It's not just random spending, it's intentional.
Right. It's all about those same principles.
Yeah.
Frugality, planning, value. And that goes beyond just cars. It's how they approach all their financial decisions.
Yeah, it's a good reminder for all of us, whether we're buying a car, a house, whatever.
Think long-term. Do your research. Don't get caught up in the hype.
And sometimes it's about using what you already have, right?
Yeah.
Your connections, your resources.
Exactly. Like, the book talks about some millionaires using their business connections to get better deals on cars,
Yeah.
referrals, discounts,
They're not just accepting the sticker price. They're working the system, maximizing their resources.
That's right. Now, this brings up another big question that the book tackles.
Okay, what's that?
Do you need to be an entrepreneur to become a millionaire?
From what I remember, the Millionaire Next Door actually kind of debunks that, doesn't it?
Yeah, they do. They say you don't have to be this daring entrepreneur to be wealthy.
Okay.
It's definitely one path, but it's not the only one. And it's not for everyone, right?
Right.
The book points out that a lot of millionaires are actually professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Doctors, lawyers, accountants, even teachers.
So there's hope for those of us who aren't cut out for the whole entrepreneur thing.
Absolutely. You can build wealth through financial discipline no matter what you do.
So it really comes down to those choices you make with the money you earn. Right.
It's about income versus wealth. A high income doesn't automatically equal wealth. We've all seen those stories of high earners who end up with nothing.
Right, right. So it's about making those smart choices.
And they even compare the profitability of different professions to typical businesses. It's fascinating. They found that while some businesses can make a lot of money, they also come with more risk.
So a steady paycheck can be just as valuable.
Especially if you're disciplined with your savings and investments.
That makes sense.
And they point out that a lot of those professional service businesses, like doctors' offices or law firms, actually have high profitability and lower failure rates than some entrepreneurial ventures.
So there's a lot to be said for stability for a reliable profession.
And even if you are thinking about entrepreneurship, they caution against jumping in blindly.
Right. It's not all about those get-rich-quick schemes.
It takes hard work, dedication, sometimes a bit of luck, and often a lot of sacrifice.
So it's important to be realistic.
Absolutely. Consider your strengths, your interests, your risk tolerance. The Millionaire Next Door encourages you to think carefully before diving into entrepreneurship.
All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into The Millionaire Next Door.
Yeah.
We've covered, frugality, planning, investing, the whole economic outpatient care thing.
Yeah.
Now we're going to get into those nitty-gritty details about raising kids who are financially responsible.
Yeah.
And how to handle that whole inheritance thing.
One of the things that really surprised me in this book was the advice to never tell your kids you're wealthy.
Huh. That's interesting. I mean, at first, it seems kind of counterintuitive, right?
Right. You'd think you'd want your kids to know you've been successful.
Yeah, why keep it a secret?
Well, they argue that if kids grow up knowing their parents are wealthy, it can actually create this sense of entitlement.
Oh, okay.
Like, why bother if I'm already set?
Yeah, I'm good. I don't need to work hard.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And it can hinder their drive to become financially independent.
that makes sense.
It's like they might become reliant on handouts
Yeah.
instead of, building their own wealth.
So it's like, yeah, you can provide for them, but you don't want to spoil them, right?
It's a tricky balance.
Yeah.
The book tells this story about this millionaire who didn't want his kids to know about his wealth until after he was gone.
Wow.
He wanted them to find their own way,
Earn their own success.
Exactly. Based on their own merits, not his money.
So sometimes the best gift is that opportunity to, build something yourself.
Yeah, to create your own success story.
It's like you want to set them up for success, but you also don't want to hand it to them on a silver platter.
Right.
How do you strike that balance?
Well, the book really stresses leading by example.
Mm.
Making smart choices yourself.
Okay.
Budgeting, saving, investing wisely.
Yeah.
Showing them that money is a tool,
Yeah.
not a measure of your worth.
Right, right. So you're teaching them by doing it yourself, not just telling them what to do.
Yeah.
And involving them in those conversations about money, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In age-appropriate ways.
Yeah.
Let them see how you make decisions, how you plan for the future,
Okay.
and be careful about those financial gifts.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that before, how those gifts, they can backfire.
Yeah. Even with the best intentions.
Yeah.
They can create conflict, especially
Yeah.
between siblings.
So it's going to be fair. Right.
Yeah, and equitable.
Yeah.
But also mindful of each child's situation, their needs.
Makes sense. Sometimes the best gift might not even be money.
Right.
Maybe it's your time, your guidance.
Exactly. Supporting them on their journey.
Now, the book has another piece of advice. This one might be hard for some parents to hear.
Oh, yeah.
Stay out of your adult children's family matters.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I could see that being a struggle.
It's about recognizing that our role as parents changes as our kids grow up,
Yeah.
right? We're
Yeah.
not there to control them anymore.
Right. You're there to support them, guide them, but not to make decisions for them.
Exactly. And that's especially true with financial stuff.
Yeah. Letting them make their own choices.
Even if we don't always agree with those choices, you know?
Right, right. It's about respecting their boundaries, trusting them.
And here's another gem. Don't try to compete with your kids.
Oh, especially when it comes to like financial success.
It's easy to fall into that trap, you know?
Yeah.
You want to brag a little, maybe compare yourself.
Right.
But it can be really damaging.
Yeah. It can make them feel like they're not good enough.
Exactly. Like they have to live up to our expectations, not their own.
So it's about letting them find their own path, their own definition of success.
Exactly. You know, celebrating their journey, supporting them.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into The Millionaire Next Door, we want to leave you with one last thing to think about.
Okay.
Imagine you could sit down with one of these millionaires from the book.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
What's the one question you would ask them?
Ooh, good question.
Are you curious about their financial strategies,
Yeah.
their mindset about money, the values they taught their kids, or maybe the struggles they faced along the way?
So many questions.
Whatever it is, hold on to that question. As you keep learning about personal finance, as you work towards your own financial goals.
Because remember, building wealth, it's a journey. It's not a destination.
Right.
And The Millionaire Next Door, it gives us a map, you know?
Yeah, it's full of insights, practical advice to help us along the way.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into The Millionaire Next Door.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We hope you found it insightful, maybe even inspiring. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep chasing those financial dreams.